Okay, letter number 9. Dear Wormwood, I hope my last letter has convinced you that the trough of dullness or dryness through which your patient is going at present will not of itself give you his soul, but needs to be properly exploited. What forms of exploitation should take, I will now consider. In the first place, I have always found the trough periods of the human undulation provide excellent opportunity for the sensual temptations, particularly those of sex. This may surprise you because, of course, there is more physical energy and therefore more potential appetite at peak periods. But you must remember that the powers of resistance are then also at their highest. The health and spirits which you want to use in producing lust can also, alas, be very easily used for work or play or thought or unconscious merriment. The attack has a much better chance of success when the man's whole inner world is drab and cold and empty. It is also to be noted that the trough of sexuality is so subtly different in quality from that of the peak, much less likely to lead to the milk and water phenomenon, which the humans call being in love, much more easily drawn into perversions, much less contaminated by those generous, imaginative, and even spiritual concomitants. I can't read, I'm sorry. Which often render human sexuality so disappointing. It is the same with other desires of the flesh. You are much more likely to make your man a sound drunkard by pressing drink on him as an anodyne when he is dull and weary, than by encouraging him to use it as a means of merriment among his friends when he is happy and expansive. Never forget that when we are dealing with any pleasure in its healthy and normal and satisfying form, we are, in a sense, on the enemy's ground. I know we have won many a soul through pleasure. All the same, it is his invention, not ours. He made the pleasures in all our research so far. He made the pleasures, and all our research so far has not enabled us to produce one. All we can do is encourage the humans to take the pleasures which our enemy has produced at times, or in ways or in degrees which he has forbidden. Hence, we always try to work away from the natural condition of any pleasure, so that in which it is least natural, least redolent of its maker, and least pleasurable. An ever-increasing craving for an ever-diminishing pleasure is the formula. It is more certain, and it is better style, to give the man's soul and give him nothing in return. That is what really gladdens our Father's heart, and the troughs are the time for the beginning of the process. So getting him stuck on something that God may have created for good, but getting him to use it in a negative way is what he's saying here. But there is an even better way of exploiting the trough. I mean through the patient's own thoughts about it. As always, the first step is to keep knowledge out of his mind. Don't let him suspect the law of undulation. Let him assume that the first ardors of his conversion might have been expected to last, and ought to have lasted forever, and that his present dryness is an equally permanent condition. Having once got this misconception well fixed in his head, you may then proceed in various ways. It all depends on whether your man is of the desponding type who can be tempted to despair, or of the wishful thinking type who can be assured that all is well. The former type is getting rare among the humans. If your patient should happen to belong to it, everything is easy. You have only to keep him out of the way of experienced Christians, an easy task nowadays, to direct his attention to the appropriate passages in Scripture, and then to set him to work on the desperate design of recovering his old feelings by sheer willpower, and the game is ours. If he is of the more hopeful type, your job is to make him acquiesce to the present low temperature of his spirit and gradually become content with it, persuading him that it is not so low after all. In a week or two, you'll be making him doubt whether his first days of his Christianity were not perhaps a little excessive. Talk to him about moderation in all things. If you can once get him to the point of thinking that religion is all very well up to a point, you can feel quite happy about his soul. A moderated religion is as good for us as no religion at all, and more amusing. So the second part is his thoughts. What is he thinking about things, and how can we turn those thoughts or neutralize those thoughts so that they're not as powerful? Another possibility is that of direct attack on his faith. When you have caused him to assume that the trough is permanent, you cannot persuade him that his religious phase is just going to die away like all his previous phases. Of course, there is no conceivable way of getting by reason from the proposition. I'm losing interest in this to the proposition this is false. But, as I said before, it's jargon, not reason you must rely on. The mere word phase will very likely do the trick. I assume that the creature has been through several of them before. They all have. And that he always feels superior and patronizing to the ones he has emerged from. Not because he has really criticized them, but simply because they are in the past. You keep him well fed on hazy ideas of progress and development and the historical point of view, I trust, and give him lots of modern biographies to read. The people in them are always emerging from phases, aren't they? So the other thing is help get him to think that Christianity is a phase, that he accepted Jesus and that's just something that he's going through and he's going to be out of it. You see the idea. Keep his mind off plain antithesis between true and false. Nice shadowy expressions. It was a phase. I've been through it all. And don't forget the blessed word adolescent. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape. So by adolescent, just getting back to that, like not to mock or not to offend any of you adolescents, but an immaturity that he went through. Okay, that was letter 9.